Welcome back, everyone, to Action Reaction for our reaction mini-sode on political prisoners. This is me, Zane Simon, joined by my less esteemed a few days later, after watching The Rock, co-host Troy O'Diamonds.
Hi, everybody.
And we are here to talk about what we what the movies from our political prisoners episode. Troy made me watch The Rock, and I gifted him with a wonderful movie, Cold Summer of 1953, right?
Strongly disagree there, Zane.
Well, that's how it felt to me. That's what I remember. My memory was of an extremely benevolent self being punished with The Rock.
And look, when this gets, when we write our memoirs about this show in 10 years after it takes off, and ironically you're the one who succumbs to addiction, then we will talk about this episode as the time where we really needed different narrators for each side of it, because we felt the same way despite very different stimuli.
I don't know. I don't have a very addictive personality at all, so I don't know what you're talking about. And this Manhattan here tells me that I'm really just here for a good time. So,
fair enough. All right, save that clip. All right, but we are here to talk about some movies. You want to talk about some good movies, Zane?
I have to talk about The Rock, whether or not how that shakes out as a good movie or not. I'm still not quite convinced.
Yeah, well, maybe we should give it the intro it needs. Like, tonight on AMC, a group of mercenaries takes over the world's most impenetrable prison. Nick Cage, Sean Connery, Ed Harris are in The Rock.
Hey, Troy.
Yeah?
Do you like that song, The Rocket Man?
Yes! I was going to ask you your favorite one-liner. Please tell me that was it.
You know what? I would say that is my favorite one-liner from the movie, but it's not. The actual best line from that movie is when Nicolas Cage walks over to the guy who had the air conditioner fall on him. Is like, that's the most awful thing I've ever seen.
Oh, it's so good.
That is the one moment of writing gold in The Rock.
And he delivers it just fantastically.
Yes, that moment, that right there is what I wanted the entire rest of the movie to be.
Wait, you didn't like the follow-up of when his foot is twitching, he's like, can you make him stop that? What do you want me to do? Kill him again?
Exactly. That whole scene is exactly what the rest of the movie should have been, but had none of the consistency to be at all.
Oh man, it's so good. So you'd say that scene's your favorite part of the movie?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, hands down, my favorite part of the movie.
Oh man. And it is fantastic. But we do need to talk about what maybe my favorite part of the movie, besides just the entire movie. What'd you think of that chase scene, Zane?
Okay. The chase scene, it was cool. It was not uncool. But what the fuck is up with the music in The Rock?
Oh yeah, it sounds like filler score. I'm with you on that.
The most
dun, 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 dun.
And the end of it, like at the end of the movie, and they have the made for TV happy ending movie.
Oh yeah,
it's like a Lifetime original action score.
Pretty much, but that end, the hopeful, optimistic score sounds like something that the best fourth grader at recorder is playing the lead on. That's
in the chase scene, I'm like, this is such a cool chase scene, and what is this dun 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 score? It's just
Isn't it like so fantastically 90s though? It teleports you to 1995.
It is incredibly 90s. Yes, in every way. Um yeah, in even in like I expected, going out and looking for like cool The Rock themed like posters and artwork and stuff like that online, and I expect like big fan following, and it's just like the most boring 90s The Rock. Here's Sean Connery's face poster. Like that's all that anybody has for this movie.
Yeah, I mean, because there's no like cult classic things to bring out about this. There's nobody joking about the three seashells like that's their in joke. There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing really to latch onto besides like winners go home and fuck the prom queen. Like that's it.
I can't even remember his girlfriend. It was like my girlfriend was the prom queen, and I love.
Yeah,
I will say I love Sean Connery for his genuine look of surprise. Like, really?
yeah, and so from there, one of the things that I think I said in the show that this is the most Michael Bay movie. Have you watched enough Michael Bay to really appreciate the Bayness of this?
You know what? I haven't. The best connection I have to that, because I don't go out and watch Michael Bay movies as like a point of things to do.
Right.
But I will say, like, somebody immediately, I was like, oh yeah, I've been watching The Rock, and somebody was like, oh yeah, peak Michael Bay, which means all the racial stereotypes are on point.
Exactly. That is exactly what I wanted to talk about. Every black person does his very racist idea of a black person voice. I'm pretty sure, like, the trolley driver actually goes, "Oh, mammy!" Like
that trolley driver's like, "I'm gonna get that motherfucker," and you're just like, what?
Yeah, and it's not just that. Then there's also like the flamboyantly 90s gay hair.
Yes. Oh my God.
And then because he won't let anything get away, Nick Cage's girlfriend Carla is a fiery Catholic Italian. It's so amazing. And like that she's Italian doesn't actually come up in the movie. She just has a very Italian last name in the credits. But Michael Bay just fucking goes for it. Oh man.
Her Italianness, like it even it's so generically Italian that it almost crosses over to a Latina stereotype if you didn't know that that's what he was going for.
That's what I thought he was going for. And I had to look up the character's name and be like, okay, no, it's just a general Catholic, and he had to give her some sort of other signifier of that. Oh, it's so Michael Bay.
That
like the thing that actually stood out to me that wasn't Michael Bay about this movie is actually the car chase scene where, yeah, he's ramping cars all over the place, but like I got the brand name of the car wrong. I'm pretty sure he's Nick Cage steals a Ferrari, not a Lambo. And they never say, Sean Connery says, I'm just borrowing your Humvee. I'm not, they don't say Hummer. They don't focus on the branding. They don't give you any of those glamour shots that are basically like half of the Transformer series, which to me stood out as also a part of what made this so 90s, because this movie could survive on its own without selling corporate partnerships. Like it could actually live on its box office.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. So the big thing I'm going to say that struck me all throughout watching The Rock, which there were two things. One of which is that, so I watched Tombstone recently, which I fear I may have robbed you of a choice in watching Tombstone recently.
No, you're good.
But I found Tombstone to be a movie that is not so much a narrative as just a bunch of scenes that were shot and then put together into like a 2.5 hour movie.
All right, yeah, fair enough.
And The Rock has a narrative, a very clear narrative, but it doesn't have dialogue so much as lines that end each scene. It's just like it's a series of words that are made to end the current scene so that it can get to the next scene in the narrative.
Yeah, that's essentially accurate. Although I would say, if you're saying there's not much dialogue, then I don't know what you would call the scene when the Marine, Navy, SEALs, whatever Army guys first pop up into the shower room, and Ed Harris is the whole "You're down there, we're up here." That's definitely dialogue.
I'm not saying there's not a lack of dialogue. I'm just saying that none of the words actually lead to anything. Like none of them mean anything or explain a narrative arc. The narrative arc is shown through film. The narrative arc is clearly right there, but it's never the words that are getting that narrative arc across.
Yeah. So what I'm picking up from what you're saying is Michael Bay turned a bad script into a cohesive movie.
Am I really saying that? My God, I hope not.
A little bit. Well, and here's the interesting thing: is I was doing some research, and apparently, when he was in film school, he was.
Wait, no. He was in film school, like.
Yeah, he went to film school, and his teachers had nothing but great things to say about him. Like, apparently, his projects were actually good, and there's like a working theory that he knows exactly what he's doing, and just knows that's what we want. Like, we want that America wants stereotypes of black people and explosions and cars flipping through the air, and that's our id. And let me dial that back. Not just America, because his movies clean up on international box office too. That's apparently what the world is asking for, and he delivers.
I mean, that's other than I was gonna say other than the racial stereotypes, but they got those too. As I say, I mean, that seems to be what gets China through the day when you look at like their modern blockbuster.
Right.
Like, he absolutely taps into exactly the kind of movies that are popular in Russia, popular in China, and even Brazil and places like in South America, like these big spectacle, pretty to look at blockbusters that are barely even skin deep. Saying they're skin deep suggests that there's like a potential to have something under, like that there might be flesh. It's like a piece of toilet paper.
I was gonna say it's not skin deep. It's like eczema deep. It's what's flaking off of your skin.
Yeah. So the other thing that struck me before I start to ask you about The Cold Summer of 1953, which is a beautiful, lovely, amazing movie that I'm sure you enjoyed, was I can't believe that there's not a carnival ride based on The Rock.
Oh, dude, that would be amazing.
Because that seems to be like every underground Alcatraz scene in that movie looks like it's part of a Universal Studios ride.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like is there a new Indiana Jones, the Crystal Skull, whatever ride somewhere? Because it could be the exact same thing.
I mean, they made a ride out of like Michael Jackson, like dancing in space, like that. They made a ride out of that, you know?
Yeah. How do we get into that space? That's our next move, is designing rides around action movies that are very good.
Michael Bay, well, don't get too far ahead of yourself, but this movie is like the sets, they look so much like sets. Like I half expect like a light up eyed dangly skeleton to pop out and go like in the middle of one of like Nick Cage's dialogue scenes.
Yeah, that's very fair. They really do set the scenery.
They do, absolutely. The other thing I got to say too, I have no idea what the psychological profiles in The Rock are supposed to be. Like, Nick Cage is this like ultra competent science badass in the lab filling with poison gas when the dude shakes the baby.
Right.
And then he's like jumping into a Ferrari and chasing Sean Connery down at high speeds through the streets of San Francisco. And then they're like, you're going to have to be recon on a mission. And he's like, oh my God, I'm shitting myself and throwing up everywhere.
Yeah. There's a bit of inconsistency in that.
And he just constantly, for the rest of the movie, just switches back and forth between being a badass and being the most cowardly, craven scientist that you've ever seen and being crazy Nick Cage. Like, those are just all three cycling constantly. Each one is like a different scene. You get a different Nicolas Cage.
Which to me feels like a very authentic experience with Nicolas Cage.
Maybe they just really captured. They figured, Nick, your character in this movie is you as a scientist. Maybe that was his whole direction.
Yeah, and then every time he interpreted it, it was one of those very different things. You just can't control that.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So, The Rock, I don't know that I'd watch it again. It had some moments that were worth recapturing. I will admit that. I will admit that rewatching it gave me the opportunity to see Nick Cage say, you are the Rocket Man.
And no one should be deprived of that just beautiful setup in one-liner.
Oh my God.
So I think we can agree that overall it's at least fun.
It has fun parts, yes. I will tell you that. So, Cold Summer of 1953, also fun, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. And so the backlash of giving me a movie this boring, because it means my brain is going to wander, and then the reaction episodes are going to be painful too. And like, this is just me being honest. Like, none of this is me really trying to exaggerate to punch you. This is just where my brain went for most of this movie, where very early on, you said this movie was in color. Kinda.
I mean, it has a color, it has a range of colors that aren't black and white in it.
It has some brown. Like, it doesn't get much more than that.
It is bleak, I'm not gonna lie. It's a bleak movie, but it learned you, right? You became a learned person through watching it.
Let me tell you what I learned in this movie. And this is within like probably the first 10 minutes is there's a fisherman getting back with his catch for the day. And he's like, oh, it's not that much, but it'll. And I had a really stupid moment of thinking like, oh, I mean, fish aren't really pliable like liquid. Why would you store fish in a barrel? And I was like, oh, obviously there's that saying of like, oh, it's like shooting fish in a barrel, which I always knew was supposed to be something extremely easy. But until that very moment, I'd interpreted it as, oh, yeah, if you're trying to shoot fish in a barrel, you shoot the barrel, all the water comes out and the fish die anyways.
Wait,
not that it was like
that's literally a thing you thought?
Yeah, that's actually how I interpreted that. I am this dumb in real life.
Oh my God.
I had never interrogated that idiom before. And then in this moment, realized, oh no, they just packed fish really tightly in a barrel.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I told you this is just going to be dumb when you make me bored.
This is like, you're taking me straight. Yeah, this is like, wow.
Yeah. That's my feedback on your movie.
That is a hell of a trip. I gotta tell you, I feel like I just did all the drugs, like right there in a moment. And now I'm like, am I high? I don't think I'm high.
This is clearly some sort of hyper reality that I am in, because there's no way that a person could survive being this dumb in the world and actually say that and admit it out loud. But no, that's true. I am that person, and somehow our society hasn't evolved far enough to, I don't know, make me non-functional in it.
Yeah. So, okay. Other than you learning that people actually did used to put fish in barrels to store them, I mean, okay, so we get through the first 40 minutes, which I'll admit, you know, there's a lot of setup. It's a building of tension over 40 minutes.
Yeah, but it's not a good building of tension. It's a lot of either time just like being boring, establishing that like, oh, this girl is dumb, this guy is unwanted, and taking 40 minutes to do that. While in the meantime, you get. So I'd say my main gripe is that when this guy has to like, Chaff has to introduce himself to Spade, and they're like, oh yeah, no, this is my name. This is the thing that I used to. My name. This is the thing I used to do. I used to be an engineer. I used to be a spy. Show me, don't tell me, motherfucker. And also, I was thinking, like, that seems like an unusual interaction for these people who have been living together, but it's also Russia. I don't know.
I mean, they're dudes in exile. I think for me, it's a very much more of a real political prisoners idea and theme, which was our theme that you chose.
Which again, this movie was so boring for the first 40 minutes that it just soured me so much that I'm probably going to be very unfair to the rest of it.
So you chose this political, and like this is the real idea of political prisoners. These people who now have to share a space. They may not have any connection to one another whatsoever. Like, you know, they can still live and exist as totally separate people. There's not automatically this bonding of like, oh, and we're all brothers now.
Sure. You know? And I feel like that could have been done a lot more efficiently. And you didn't also, just unrelated complaint, you could very easily tell that story without a helpless, young, white, blonde lady in a white dress to represent innocence and purity that the criminals and thugs want to pervert. And you probably could have done that in a less heavy-handed way than having her hanging up clean laundry in one of her first scenes. Come the fuck on.
Oh, come on. You put me through the rock and you want subtlety.
I mean, you want to educate me.
I'm glad that you're learning that subtlety can exist in the world. I just haven't yet to see the fruits of that knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a common theme between our movies for sure. Lack of subtlety.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that I think that, yeah, okay, the purity thing, maybe a little underplayed and all that, but to me, I feel like the build leads to a very real, intense sort of evolution into action. Like, that's the thing that I like about this movie, is that, yeah, okay, maybe it starts slow, and I realized watching it when I was going to make you watch it that it was going to be a little hard on you, but that you build into the action that you, like, it gives a very good reason for action, rather than just, like, jumping into action the way so many movies do.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't want to say this movie is all bad. There were some moments I really liked, like when the cop is already dead, but then there's like the city official guy who's just like, don't keep coming closer or whatever. And then the criminal like steals his bullhorn and is like, Rah! Right in his face. That made me laugh hysterically. That was fantastic. Let's see what else. Also, the soundtrack for this movie, like the score was really fun. Mm-hmm. And there were at least 3 different parts of the score that I was thinking like, oh yeah, I would love to sample this as like the intro to a melodic death metal album. That would be amazing.
See, it has like, I mean, for me, the things that I like about this movie are just the way that I find the action, once you get to it, too, to be very realistic. Like, it's action that actually feels like, oh my god, this is what it would be like.
Yeah, it's very down to earth. Yeah.
Like when he stabs the guy in the back of the head, and then like you get the reveal there, you're like, holy shit, that guy just got stabbed in the back of the head. Whereas in The Rock, he throws a knife through a guy's neck, and you're like, meh.
Yeah, I mean, the hits definitely land a lot harder in this movie, but there are so few of them comparatively that I just don't know. Okay,
well, that's fair. It was gonna be Rambo First Blood Part 2, and you put me through The Rock, so
this is where we are.
I gifted you with something more educational. It's a gift. It's an educational gift.
Yeah, and I learned that Russia's fucking boring.
All right. Any final thoughts before we close our mini episode here?
The guy who was running away or trying to like get away in the boat was rowing it backwards, and he's a fucking dumb.
All right. On that note, you can find me on Twitter at TheZaneSimon. You can find Troy on Twitter at PDLMMA. And we will be back in just a couple days with our next episode, the theme of which is what?
Operational failure. Essentially when a mission fails and how people react to that.
All right. So stick around and we'll be back with our mission failure episode coming at you in just a few days.